Hello, everyone. It is Cheryl Hickerson, CEO of Females of Finance, and we are here with another installment of the Tuesday topic. I'm so excited to have my friend Sam X Renick of Sammy Rabbit. How are you?
.com. I'm great. How are you today?
.com. I love it. I love it. You're one of the most joyful people on LinkedIn. Honestly, you almost make me, and I have a lot of grandkids. And I love kids. You almost make me want to work full time with children. But then I'm so glad that you do that.
Well, the secret is yes, we work in spots, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, but then we're able to leave. So it's all different than parenting and grandparenting.
You sound like, I was going to say, you sound like me. I have to tell you, it's funny because my kids will come to the house and they just shoo the kids to the house. And I open the door and they're walking in and my son is literally trying to waving and driving. And I'm like, hey, okay. All right. So you're with grandma. Let's go, but it's not too bad. It's not too bad a job. I mean, people who know me know I love those little creeps. So let's talk about kiddos. And I can say them because they're my grandkids. So
that's all right. I haven't heard that term for quite a while. It brings back some fond memories, but
yeah. That's exactly it. I'll hear. So we have camera down, our whole basement's dedicated to kids, and I'll hear something crash, and I'll yell, "Everything okay?" And I hear, "Fine." And then I go back and look at the cameras. And I'm like, uh-oh. So I'm qualified to use that word. All right. So we're going to jump into today. I have some questions to ask you. And I obviously want you to feel comfortable. If you're here live on the call, great. And if you do the replay, still feel free to ask questions. We can tag Sam and his team into it and they'll be able to answer those questions. Or it might even be me. I do know things, So we're going to talk about children and financial literacy. Sam, could you give us a little backdrop quickly on how you got into this particular topic?
I was at a turning point in my life, turning about 40, and I started asking myself, well, why am I here? What's my purpose? What's my mission? And at that time, I was actually in financial services, but I didn't think that was my my purpose. But it got me to thinking about that. And one of the things I was learning in financial services, I was having all these conversations with people, and basically what many of them were sharing with me was their regret and despair for not having started to save or invest earlier in life. And it really got me to thinking, well, why did I start doing that immediately out of college when I was 21 or 22? And it had to do with several things. But one were these conversations my dad would have with all of us, but me included, as kids. It seems like from the time we were born, we didn't have any discretionary money. We barely had money for food and things like that. So I'd often hear no. But one of the things my dad would tell me often, he said, Sam, if you're willing to work, you can have anything you want. Are you willing to work? So I say, sure. And then he'd line us up jobs with my aunts or uncles, washing their cars and doing things. And so we'd pick up a dime, a quarter, maybe even $1. This was in the 60s.
Yeah.
So a dime was like $10 today.
Yeah.
And, once in a while we'd be able to get things. Now, the other thing is, we had 7 of us living in a house that actually my grandparents owned. 1 bathroom, believe it or not, 2 bedrooms. And so, one of the things that was important to me as I became older is, I wanted some independence. I wanted to get out of the house, even though I loved it. But, you're cramped in there and whatnot. So for me, that really was motivating as well.
I love that. I really do. And, I have to tell you, I have a deep appreciation for people who grew up in small means and developed something that not only was, you built for yourself, but you built for other people ultimately with what you're doing at Sammy Rabbit. Talk a little bit really quickly what's about Sammy Rabbit. Like what is Sammy Rabbit? What do you provide?
Okay, well, Sammy Rabbit, and let me just finish this story out. I forgot to close it up and saying, what I thought I could do and discovered was that I could be a champion essentially for teaching kids about money early. That's what happened with me. It made a big difference in my life. And I thought, that's something I may be able to do, even though I've never done any children's stuff. I've never written any books. God knows I can't sing on key or clap on beat, but we've now developed a lot of music. I come up for the ideas. I love to noodle and brainstorm and have talks with people like yourself, with the wonderful Tina Pettijohn and others, whoever wants to talk on the topic. Well, Sammy the Rabbit, he's a warm, friendly, huggable vehicle who helps parents and anyone really, financial advisors who want to talk to parents or talk to kids about how to intentionally talk to their kids about money. One of the big misconceptions is people say, well, nobody's teaching or talking to kids about money. Let me just say, we're doing that all the time. We're just not doing it with intention.
Mm.
And that's the key. And Sammy the Rabbit makes it fun with his stories. He has activities, he has songs. He's able to, help make it a tough subject a little bit more digestible and fun. As were saying earlier, what we try and do is be a source of joy and knowledge, for kids and families. And family means everything to me. So that's part of it. Ties in with, I discovered, hey, this is really my life's purpose, is to help and strengthen families and kids and their futures and that. And look, this is a tough parenting, is a tough challenge by itself. This is an even, maybe even more of a tougher challenge, because the big thing here, in my mind, in parenting, is to try and teach your kids discipline and to delay gratification. And
Mhm.
what's beautiful that I think people undersell as it relates to money is if you can encourage and get your kids in the habit of saving, what it really does, in addition to help create a foundation uh, for systematic and predictable success with money, is it helps teach them to delay gratification
Gratification.
and have discipline, which is applicable to all areas of life. As far as I'm concerned, encouraging kids, teaching, doing everything you can, incentivizing them to get in the habit of the saving is the key mother skill to do, and it's a springboard for everything else, investing and better money management and all that type of stuff.
I feel like everything you just said, we literally could just mic drop the moment here, and it's like that's the wrap. Because what you just said, I wrote these down. I actually did, talking with kids all the time about money, but let's be intentional. And I think that people, going back, I remember when my son was little and we didn't have much money then, and I remember, for me, the turning point in the conversation about money was we had walked into a local department, like a convenience department store, kind of like a Target, let's call it that, just to get the idea. And my son really liked those little cars, the little matchbox and stuff.
Sure. Yeah,
And I
yeah.
had all my money budgeted for what we could afford to get for clothes and food and things like that. And I remember him looking down at me, or looking down at him, and he's playing with it. And he goes, he started to lift it up to me and he goes, too expensive.
Oh, wow.
He had heard it so often.
Yeah,
And
wow.
he was about
Interesting.
4, too
Okay.
expensive.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I said, too expensive. And he's like, okay. And he put it back on the shelf. And I remembered looking at the price. I to this day remember 74 cents. 74 cents. So my son's 34 now, almost 35. And so to your point, like you're talking about the 10 cents being like $10. So 74 cents back in the day for me when he was younger, it was too expensive. And I thought, I never want my kids to say that to me again, not because it's wrong, but because I didn't budget. I didn't know how to budget for that kind of stuff. That was so so extra in our budget. And so I think there's a lot of people, and of course, today parents would love a child to say a Matchbox car, but now those Matchbox cars are, let's be honest, they're V-Bucks for playing a video game. I don't even know what that was till Christmas. I'll be honest with everybody here. Or, a video game. I went to the store. I don't even know what I was thinking. I went to a video game and I called my son. I'm like, this is $74 for a video game. And I was complaining about your 74-cent toy. Times have changed, I guess is what I'm saying.
I have to say, big circle round of applause to you. Happy dance. Look, that situation, you were where the rubber meets the road. And you shared that it was too expensive. Your son was right.
Mhm.
Often parents don't implement that type of parenting when they should, because a lot of guilt and other
Yeah.
things are associated with it. But actually, you were doing what was probably in the best interest not only of the family but your child as well. If you can't implement, that simple kind of discipline, even though it's difficult, it sets up a foundation not for success.
No, it doesn't. No.
And so good for you. Good on you.
Mhm.
To me, that's an exciting story, and it also illustrates, a point that I'm talking to people about all the time. And I'm going to just say this is a common sense point in my mind. Somewhere around 3 or 4 or 5 years old, kids start saying things like, usually it's, I want this.
Mhm.
All right. Now, I guess in a way he was saying that, but he was also saying too expensive, which tells you that they're already registering feelings, attitudes, maybe thinking, a little bit of thinking, but their money mindset, their money attitudes are being formed just like you would, plug in and install software into a computer. And these things are really difficult to unravel the deeper you get into life, whether it's at 10, 12, 27,
Yeah.
47, 50, 52. Something that you're going to be in a relationship your whole life is with money. Right? And
Right.
so
Exactly.
yeah, the sooner you can start forming the right habits and attitude, the better chance you're going to have. And it's a very difficult environment for everyone, but I think especially kids. We live in a consumer society, and it looks like it's going that way globally. So there's these constant pressures, whether it's coming from media on the internet, on
Mm.
TV, on radio, but also within our own families. And if one day you're going to own a home, if one day you're going to go to college without incurring debt that's going to cripple you for the rest
Yeah.
of your life, you need to start figuring out how to manage a limited resource. It's even limited for Jeff Bezos. I mean, he's got these big plans,
Yeah.
so he needs more resources. So it doesn't matter what level you're at. So if you can master it when you first start off, it's going to give you a big life advantage, and ultimately, it's going to position you to get more of what you want when you want it. So
Yeah.
even a $74 video game, although I think that's outrageous, but let me just say, if it's
Me
within
too,
your
dude. Me too.
but if it's in your planning and it's on your
Yeah.
list, and that's what you want, and you have the resources to do it, hey, do it.
Yeah. And so that, to your point, so that's wonderful because, one of the first questions I was going to ask you was about the age of the child when they can grasp the concept of money, because, this is my son, 3 to 4 years old. And instead of saying no, which is, I think, what most parents would say, can I have this? No, I want this. No, I just said it's too expensive. I can't buy it. He had heard it enough
Yes,
that he
yes.
was able to repeat that back. And, I didn't lie to my kids. I never acted like we had more money
Okay.
than we had. I think there's parents who are shamed.
Okay. Yeah.
There's a lot of
Okay.
guilt with that. So I'm kind of curious about the age with money.
Yeah. Okay. Well, look, I think that's the perfect age. Uh, each parent needs to judge for themselves, but it's probably somewhere between 3 and 5. I
Wow.
wouldn't worry so much like, are they learning the concepts? This is where I think people, they disempower themselves because they're expecting like uh more from the kid maybe than they can deliver. What they can deliver are these expressions, things they've heard and seen that are often attached with emotion. I mean, that's what kids do when you think about it. When they're born, they come out, off when they're not sleeping, often their eyes are open, so
Yeah.
they're watching things, and they're hearing things, and they may hear things like expensive, expensive, and somehow your I think it was your son, is that right?
Yeah. Yeah.
He made the connection. This is brilliant, but he's probably not going to be able to give you this long dissertation on what expensive means, even though he seems to understand. I mean, he's not going to probably be able to articulate it, but he seems to grasp it. So he's got that basic understanding of the concept. So, this is the perfect time, and maybe even start before that, maybe not having these conversations, but trying to become self-aware of things that you're saying that may be
Yeah.
empowering or disempowering. And let me say this, because I think people often misinterpret things. You or you've kind of hinted upon it, like, they'll feel bad this or that. Okay, feel however you want to feel. But let me just say, because you have to say no or because something is too expensive does not mean you have to feel bad. Okay. We all need to govern and make choices. And the fewer resources you have, the more consequential those decisions. So a nickel for one family can be the same as 50 or $500 for another family.
Exactly.
Don't compare yourself to other families. That's very disempowering. Know where you're at, know where you want your kids to go. And I think where you want them to go is you want them to build skills and a mastery of money so that ultimately they'll have more control over their own lives, whatever that means. And they'll make good choices that when they really figure out what it is they want and what's important to them, what they value, that their consumption will be more in line with that, as opposed to, oh my goodness, here we have toys or stuff we no longer use. And the big thing about wants is they change. Okay.
Yeah. And
They change.
I love this conversation. I know the next one I wanted to ask you is about materials, but before we go there, I remember when I was a child, we used to go. Dad was pretty generous with doing a vacation every summer. Like we would go somewhere and usually it was like go to my uncles lived in Florida. They lived in Orlando, and we would go down Cocoa Beach specifically, and we would go down there and we would drive the 17 hours and drive there because we couldn't afford to fly. My dad started off, I think my mom had died. So my mom died when I was 6. When I was 7 years old, my father, I vividly remember we had like a vacation, like he put a little pin on there was a hallway. And
Mhm.
he said that we had $20. This is 1978, that
Mm,
we had $20, however we wanted to spend on vacation. Those were our $20. And you can make good choices with or bad choices. They're your choices. They're your money. If you want to buy anything else, you better work for it.
mm.
And do you know, I remember being seven. That's like my grandkids to come over. And I was going to neighbors. Can I rake the leaves for a
Wow.
quarter? And then I'd come over and he had like a little bag thing that was on the wall, and I'd open it up and put my little, people going to steal it. It was my sister and me. It was nobody stealing this money. It was just us, but we put our money. And so we had our 20 plus. And so we go to vacation, and my father would hit us each a crisp $20 bill from Mercantile Bank in St. Charles, Missouri. We felt rich. I'm not even gonna lie.
Yeah.
But then
Yeah.
whatever we wanted to add to it. And I will say that he never made us feel bad with what we bought. And I vividly remember going to Disney World. Remember the little buckets that used to float around the sky, like the zip line? And I had this candy thing that went around like this in 75 different colors. It was as big as my head. And I ate that thing the whole way across. My dad's like, "That's what you're going to spend your money on?" Mm-hmm. He says,
You
"Whatever."
bet.
And I
It's your
did.
money.
My money.
Yeah,
And
it's
I
your money.
did.
You earned it. You earned it. That really builds a lot of confidence and esteem. You're reminding me of our song Lemonade Stand. One of the key lines in there, earning money is fun to do. And boy,
Yeah.
I just love that at 7 you were an eager and enthusiastic
Well, and I know
earner, putting your hustle on.
that's
I
exactly
love
it.
it,
It's
Sheriff.
a, I,
And look at you now. I mean,
yeah.
you are one of the big champions of financial empowerment. You're out there, great brand. I think we've known each other maybe 4 years now. And so
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of the growth, love the pink, bringing people together.
Thanks.
I mean, that's a quality and a positive one that has stayed with you. It is awesome. And, it actually aligns with, that was something my father was trying to teach us, to be enthusiastic, eager, and people who enjoyed and loved to work, and that's,
Yeah.
man, wow. That's one of the things I would encourage advisors. I'm thinking there's probably a lot of advisors in the audience, to encourage their parents to give kids opportunities to earn money. And maybe like your father, the only thing I guess I would do, and maybe he was doing this, is make sure that whatever they're earning or receiving, they take a portion of it and put it either into saving. I'd go with saving or investing, and then the rest, just as your dad. Hey, it's your money, you earned it. Which to me, that's one of the things I love about earning money. You get to make the choices and the calls. It gives you that control. And what a great time to learn all of that. Good for you. That Hey, you've got some really what the chicken soup guy calls them chicken soup stories. I like to call them lemonade stories.
Lemonade stories. I'd like that too. I really like that. And that's exactly what it was that I think also I was fairly coachable at that age too. That
Okay.
I mean, my father had set it up and there were no free lunches. He was very clear to
Okay. Okay.
no free lunches in this
Uh,
world. And he wanted me to put my skin in the game. What was I going to do
okay.
for that too? Right. And this was every vacation. I don't think people realize like each year he had his starting money and the money never changed. Here's the best part of this. It was always $20. So when I was 13, it was $20. Guess what? Money changed then.
Yeah.
So, but then guess what I could also do? I was also doing higher end like babysitting jobs and mowing lawns and doing things like that
Mm.
because he wanted me to have a little bit of the vacation skin in the game. And so we decided when my kids were little, or now that they're older, what we do is we provide the place. Like we take everybody on a vacation and we pay for the place. But if you want to do any of the fun stuff,
It's up to you.
that's your skin in the
Okay.
game.
Okay.
Okay.
Man, you're hitting some big notes here. Yes, skin. When you have skin in the game, that's a game changer. No, we have a song, no free ride. You can't get something for nothing. So these are
And little
great.
kids can understand that.
Okay, yes, they can. Cheryl, you're darn right. You know what? I'll never forget one of the first times I was out reading our first book. It's a Habit, Sammy Rabbit. This was to second graders. The principal brought me to the office after class, but this is for good reasons. And she shared with me. She said, "Sam, I want you to know, one of the biggest mistakes that parents make, and I don't want you to make this mistake, is that they underestimate kids' ability to grasp concepts." She said, "If you can explain them, they will get them. Their minds are like sponges. They'll absorb it, soak it up, and all that good stuff." And then I believe this. You hit on this earlier. If you're honest, kids love and respond to authenticity.
Yes, they
So
do.
sure, but and kids are tremendously resilient. So they
Yeah.
get over that they didn't get this, they didn't get that,
Yeah.
and they move on. They move quickly on to the next thing, but they know, look, you're solid, you're reliable. Consistency is so important. It's difficult, but every challenge is difficult for parents. But just remember, that old lesson when you were learning to ride your bike when you're a kid. Skin your knee, you fall off, get back on. So if you're not practicing the right principles financially, something I hear all the time, don't let that stop you from intentionally advising your kids on the right principles. Okay, you've
Yeah.
got to step up and step through it. All right.
I think one of
Ver-
the things that you uniquely are positioning advisors for, Sam, I mean this, one of the things you're uniquely positioning them for is that next generation of clientele that could be coming through. Granted, these are much
Absolutely.
younger, right? So we're talking, you got to put at least 25 years probably on most of the kids that are there before they're solid. But I think that if those kids have the opportunity to start off with a pretty good foundation of financial literacy, understanding the concept of money, the money mindset, I got to put some of my own into this, nothing's free, delaying gratification, the ultimate marshmallow test, right? That you're going to get 2 marshmallows if you let this one sit here for 20 minutes. I think that one of the things is they're actually building the next set of clients out there
Absolutely.
for themselves
Ab-
and for their junior planners that are coming into their advisory practices now.
Absolutely. Whether advisors, whether their clients have kids or not, but if they have kids, regardless of the age, they should be talking about the importance. This is just, we need more conversation and awareness. This is one of the things I love about Kina. She's a tremendous champion of helping to spread and create more awareness for everyone. So we have a community of people who are concerned about the future. Often, what I've found in families, if they've got a young kid, there might be an older kid,
Yeah.
somebody say closer to college or graduating, going to work. They may have cousins. You get into that family unit. You're a trusted advisor. You're talking about what's good for society, for families, for the long term. Hey, people tend to like and trust those types of people, so they
Yes.
should be having those conversations. And then often, when you're having those conversations with parents, and you need to do that, it has some impact on on them as well. And they're thinking, we get emails and letters all the time from parents saying, I was talking to my kid about money, it got me to saving or investing more, or starting to do that, or whatever it was. So it has this whole compounding, combustion, multiplying effect, and it makes you feel good because you're doing the right thing, and you understand that there are all these forces working against that happening, trying to separate you and from you from your money as fast as possible. And it turns out in the digital age, that's even faster than
Oh, it's
the
yeah,
cash and carry age.
yeah. TikTok is like buy now, buy
Oh yeah,
now,
okay, everything is
buy
buy, but
Instagram,
it's not
buy
only
now.
buy now, but buy more than you can afford.
Yeah,
Charge it. Pay the interest. They don't have to, that pizza that costs $12. Pay $780. Pay $12. You
yes,
don't even pay anything now. You just pay for it for the next 30 years. All right. And
yeah.
you don't even remember. Did you have a Hawaiian pizza, a jalapeno pizza?
No, nobody remembers that. That's exactly it, right? And yet they're still paying for
They're
it.
still they're still they're still paying for it. And let me just say, if they're doing it in this one area, it begs the question, what other areas are they doing it in?
Yes,
Okay, this
yes,
is why we formed our whole education platform and content around the idea of get in the habit of saving, get in the habit of setting goals,
yes.
get in the habit of budgeting, get the right habits going, put yourself on autopilot, you know, get in the habit of spending less than you earn or receive. Turns out you're going to be a lot happier as well,
Yeah.
regardless of how much you accumulate. And let me just say this, kids, regardless of whether what economic demographic they're in, they can save. Okay. And I encourage, start with pennies. Okay. Pennies are powerful. Give your pennies a purpose, give your pennies a plan, and
Mhm.
watch them. See, it's about the habit. So you start making those deposits into your little savings jar, whatever it is, shake it up. Bring some joy. That's the sound of saving. How many deposits of pennies can you make in a year? And let me just say, you get in that habit, and eventually it's going to occur to you, maybe I should start saving nickels or quarters. And then it changes also your relationship with money, because you're like, maybe I don't need that chocolate bar, or I'm all over these fiery hot Cheetos. It seems like, they
You and
occupy
my
like,
son.
well, I don't know how, 20 years ago, they didn't even exist. Now they occupy 75% of the whole Cheetos row. It's like,
It's not
gotta have
fair.
the fiery hot. I'm not a fiery hot fan, but I'm like, how did that happen? It's just like we're great salespeople.
Do you know, you said something, we're talking about giving your pennies a purpose. I love that. I have little
Thank
quotes
you.
from you that I've been writing down. But if people don't think that pennies are powerful, I'm going to switch because I'm really big on analogies.
Yeah.
What is the number one sound that you hear in a casino?
Mm.
Ching, 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 ching.
Ching, ching, ching. Yeah.
The change coming
Yes.
down and splashing into the little buckets, right?
Yes.
And that sound actually gives us a dopamine, like, whoa, I could do that. And then, of course, the
Yeah.
limited possibility of which machine is and it's everything about it is enticing you to come in.
Yes.
It's pulling you in. And that
Yes.
actual sound of the money is so powerful. And the other thing too that I think is really interesting when it comes to this children and financial literacy is that we are dependent on Americans today. And think of the average American household today, who oftentimes has had limited access to financial literacy themselves, raising children who are probably not getting financial literacy from their living situation. And we're in school and we learned nothing more than this to be true during pandemic, when all of a sudden the parents had to teach math and they're like, whoa, I am not good in this. And
Yeah.
yet we're dependent on them to teach them about money, and
I'm
they
gonna
don't
help
even
it.
have basic math.
I'm gonna help everybody out right here, Cheryl. Follow me. Money in here, money out there. Money in here, money out there. Okay, this will solve 50 to 70% of our financial literacy money problems. Money in here, money out there.
Well,
Everybody,
and it's the
I think
reason why,
everybody can
Sam,
understand that.
that people they go and play. Let's say they win the lottery. Win the lottery. How many
All right,
times
let's see.
have we seen people win $5 million lotteries, $50 million? I don't even care what the number is, and they are broke, not broke, capital broke, in just a year's time, 2 years time, maybe 5 years time, they have no more money left because they had poor money skills going in. It doesn't ever matter what the amount of money is.
Okay, you hit the nail on the head again. Okay, so you just think about this related to work. Typically, if you're not doing good work, do you get more responsibility? Do you get promoted? Typically, you don't. In money, everybody's dream is that they don't understand how to manage it, but that they get a big windfall of it. And most people are going to just do more of whatever it is they've been doing. So if they've been overspending $1,000, $100, 10,000 or 100,000, they're going to misspend or overspend 50 million. But what's even more tragic about that is it's going to devastate their lives. It's going to ruin a lot of their relationships and everything else because of these they don't have the skills. But it to me, it's like fascinating from a dream standpoint that your dream and thinking, it's like this is going to be the solution, but it doesn't add up. Okay.
It doesn't. And the reason I bring that up is because those individuals were children that didn't have it. And one of the analogies, again, analogy for me, but I use is I draw a line across a piece of paper and I mark it off as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and all the way up to 100. And I say, how long of this 100 are children little? And then they usually pick somewhere about 13 and 14 and less, because after that, they're kind of like friends and they start really picking up stuff. But let's say that first 10 years, but how much of what we learn it predicts where we're going to be later on because of that first. So you're talking about a line that's 12 inches, let's say 12 inches across and 3/4 of an inch pretty much predicts what's going to happen for the rest of our lives. If you can get Sam and your program into those first 7, 10-year, markers on a consistent basis, you literally can change the trajectory of illiteracy around money in communities today.
Well, if we're able to do what you just described, we're going to solve this whole narrative related to systemic change as it relates to money. Okay.
Yeah.
And it will have nothing to do, or perhaps nothing to do, with schools or government or whatever. Yourself, myself, Kina, advisors. Okay. Let me just say, we have so much content, and most of it is, part of it is free. And all of it is like extraordinary affordable, that hits on all these points that you've been describing and more. These are the basic ones that kids have to master. They don't have to worry about Bitcoin. They don't have to worry about all these other things at this moment. It's like a home. If your foundation isn't right, it's going to collapse. It's going to fall. You got to get these foundational ideas, in their hearts and in their heads. It turns out most people make decisions based on feelings. So it's really important you get them in their heart, which is where Sammy Rabbit is very helpful, because he's a head, heart, and hug financial education machine. And so we could create the change you're describing, just like Dora the Explorer and other characters that are known all around the world that have such positive impact on children and families. And so, hey, bravo to you. Give yourself 2 pats on the back. Give yourself a Sammy.
Give myself 2 pats. That's it.
And then you may want to do this off camera, but you can do it on camera. You stand up, turn around, and shake your Sammy Rabbit money bunny tail. Woo! Kids love that.
I love it. Adults should love that too. I'm curious, Kina, since you're on the call, Miss Kina Pettijohn, in any questions that you want to ask them or statements that we may have missed?
What I loved, and that I just turned 70, that all of this information I could relate to as a child, but more importantly, I could relate to throughout my entire life. And the enthusiasm that you bring about money, not only emotionally, but it's funny. I want my pennies to have a purpose.
Yeah.
That stuck with me because sometimes you have money. I know Cheryl had actual envelopes, but we don't earmark them for joy and purpose. And I think that's very, very important. So that's my takeaway. My pennies with a purpose.
Love that.
Tina, good listening. Give me the little bunny ears.
I was
Sammy
gonna say-
Rabbit, Sammy Rabbit, gold carrot and 2 thumbs up.
Oh my goodness. I love him. There is, every person who watches you online just is like, that guy has so much energy. I mean, it just exudes off of the page even. Question. So we're going to make certain at Females in Finance, we and I talked about this, that we're going to have some information dedicated just to SammyRabbit.com so that you can interact with his content. What's the best way for people just to go to SammyRabbit.com, sign up to get it, definitely
Yes.
get all the information, your newsletters, and interact with that stuff. It's amazing.
SammyRabbit.com, SAMMY, rabbit, RABBIT.com. The site is up, but we're in the process of reorganizing it. We're getting ready to launch Sammy Rabbit's online money school. Music, all-star readers, decode and sing. We've got all this great, unique programming to help parents and help teachers and help any financial advisors, anybody who's interested in helping young kids pick up the right money habits, money mindset, and all of that stuff in a fun, engaging, purposeful, joyful way. And you can start today.
I know. And what a better way, honestly, to give back to your community. If you're looking for something that has really good, talk about heart to it, is helping those in your community learn more about and giving their pennies purpose, as you've already said. I mean, I think that's really powerful what you shared today.
Well, thank you so much. I really want to thank you and Females in Finance for being great champions of Sammy Rabbit, financial literacy, spreading awareness. Tina Pettijohn, as I mentioned earlier, she's a tremendous champion online. I encourage people to connect with her as well. But thank you so much, Cheryl.
I appreciate you. We'll make certain we get this up. She's got her bunny ears going too. I love it. You all are the best. All right. Take care of yourselves, friends. Bye now.